Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network podcast. I'm your host, Rick Davis. If you don't follow me on social media, I urge you to do so at Prime Real Estate Rick. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Prime Real Estate Rick. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in residential or commercial real estate anywhere in the great state of Texas, but especially here in our lovely city of Houston, please visit our website at brooksanddavis.com. As always, my co-host here for episode 124.
That's right. They rolling in.
Oh, my goodness gracious, brother.
Yep. 124, man.
Where do you find time to get all this stuff in? Because it's hard being a Texas real estate broker, multi-time author, serial entrepreneur, and the sole proprietor of the Pure Hustle clothing brand.
Yeah.
Hey, how does it feel on this Thursday to be the Texas real estate king, Mr. Larry W. Brooks? What's up with it, bro?
Hey, man, with an introduction like that, man, it feels wonderful, right? It's crazy because I had a great time this morning. I ended up being up super early because I had to go over to Champion School of Real Estate, the West Side, and speak to the students about, like being licensees and moving forward with that one day being able to practice real estate. So it was amazing just to get in front of them and share, my journey with them. So it was good.
Man, every week, and without any further ado, I want to introduce to our audience. Not only is she one of the most successful businesswomen here in the greater city of Houston, she is a licensed loan officer. She is also the founder, CEO of Beyond the Close, and someone who is very and especially busy on Thursdays, but carved some time out of her schedule to sit in with us. I want to thank her publicly, Miss Brandy Sams. How you doing?
B. Sam in the building.
Getting it going.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
We're doing amazing.
How's everyone doing today? I am excited to be here. Like Larry said, with a introduction like that. Like, what else do you say?
Right. Okay, but I'm gonna help you out because I want to make sure I throw you a softball. Could you share with our audience how far back you and your business relationship with Mr. Larry Brooks goes?
Larry Brooks was someone that I met when I first moved to Houston, and that was 8 years ago. Oh. So I was working with a company, and he was working with us on a regular basis, and he was one of the first introductions that I had with Houston because I'm from Oakland, California originally. Right. So I'm not a natural Houstonian, although I do have family that's from here. We all have roots in Louisiana and Texas. So he was one of the first people that made me really feel at home here. Yeah. So we go way back.
Way back. Listen, you come through the city of Houston, you have to come through Larry Brooks some type of way. I need to know you. I need to make sure you belong here.
Especially if you're talented and a grinder like Miss Sams. I want to give you an opportunity to speak to our audience about your organization, your company, and what it is that you guys provide as far as services to the community. Not just as a loan officer, but people who visit your website, follow you on Instagram, can see that there are a myriad of services that you provide. Could you speak to our audience a little bit about what it is that you do?
Sure. I would definitely love the pleasure of doing that. Well, let me go ahead and just for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brandy Sams. I'm a licensed loan officer, but I am a nationwide lender. We provide services for residential lending, multifamily, and light commercial. I also have a business consulting firm, and we provide services for business owners who are looking to learn how to navigate bank financing in order to invest in real estate as well as grow and scale your businesses. For me, the foundation of any wealth generation plan has to be finances. You really need to understand the game that you're playing. You ought to know the rules. That way you have no excuse whatsoever not to own it successfully, but in a way that you can do it efficiently, effectively, and then be able to leave a legacy for your family.
Yes, indeed. And, I totally agree with that. And I think that a lot of times we miss out on that because the foundation is sometimes people just throwing it together versus taking the time to plan it out the way that you just said. So,
And it makes a difference. And when you look at other communities and when you look at other cultures, they plan like 10 generations deep.
They do.
Right. Sometimes we plan 2 seconds deep.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we miss out on the opportunity given the fact that we have so much buying power. We really do affect this country.
Yep.
Tremendously. We have no idea how much power we have. And for me, like my grandmother, my great-grandparents, they laid a really solid foundation. I'm a 6th generation landowner, and I'm proud of that. You know what I mean?
No doubt about it, yeah.
And my siblings and I, my parents, my cousins, we're all trying to set a foundation for our children and for their children to have the ability to do a lot more. And land ownership is a start.
Yeah.
But it's not just about having land. It's about having a strategy and understanding what that strategy would be and being able to deploy it properly.
I agree.
So
one of the true values that Larry and I have is being able to talk to you today is to pick your brain about some of the services you provide for entrepreneurs and business owners.
Okay.
As I did my due diligence cyber stalking your brand and your company this week, I had an opportunity to notice that you provide consultation services for business owners as far as those 3 letters, SBA, PPP, and in a city the size of the Houston with as many entrepreneurs and business owners as there are. What type of services are you providing for those business owners and entrepreneurs in and around the city right now from that standpoint?
Well, so here's the thing. There are a lot of people out here who like to be sold and not a lot of people who like to be educated.
Wow.
And
That's
so
deep.
Hold on.
Don't be
That's
so
a
deep right
just
now.
saying, though.
Come on.
Hey, just the way she handled that wording is perfect.
We
though.
apologize,
That's it.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Continue.
No doubt about it. These people, they're going to know better today.
Absolutely. They're going to know better today.
So the services that we really provide are the starting services. There are a lot of people out there who are charging you to handle these services when there are things that you can do for yourself. Now, are there opportunities for you to work with a company that's helping you, and do they get paid for those services through the SBA or through the companies that are offering that? Yes, we do. We need to be paid for our services.
Right.
However, you're the person who's signing on the dotted line. Yeah. And so you're the person who needs to know what you want the money for.
I agree.
Not just because it's available, but what are you going to do with it? It makes no sense to borrow money to go into debt if you don't have a plan or a strategy to replace it and then grow from it. Yeah. So part of the thing that we do with some of the entrepreneurs is figure out, what do you want? Like, why do you want it? What are you going to do with the money? How is it going to add to your business plan? Do you even have a business plan?
Come on.
Now, that's a heavy way to evaluate it, because I can only imagine these people taking all of these loans because they're being offered without the strict guidelines. I remember back when I first got into business 20 years ago, if you tried to get a loan, the amount of money that they would give you would be only the match that you had in your savings, like
exactly.
a percentage of that.
Right.
But now
exactly.
they ain't even asking you what you got in your savings. They just like, okay, if you can structurally show that you and business, they giving you a loan. But imagine these people are not going to be, if you're not educating them, they're not going to be responsible for that.
If you don't know how to put a P&L together, and you don't know what a balance sheet is, you have no idea whether or not you're a Schedule C earner. You don't know if you have a 1065 or 1120. If you have no idea what any of those things mean, please don't go out and get money that you don't know how to write off on your taxes properly. You don't have an actual tax accountant or strategist or any of those things, because you put yourself in a much different position. What a lot of people last year didn't recognize, even on the finance side, from the mortgage side, there are a lot of people who thought, oh, well, it's not going to report on my personal credit, so it's not going to matter. Yeah. Then you try and get a loan, and you're wondering how we know what we know the way we know it.
How did you leave this off? Yeah,
right.
How did you selectively forget to put it on that application? Exactly, right? And so then it can impact you in other situations, right? And I understand, though. I really, really do. It is hard to be a business owner. It is hard to be a small business owner. And with COVID and everything else that happened last year with many of our lives, it sent people in disarray. Their businesses changed overnight. So if the government is saying, hey, I'm going to give you $50,000, you're taking it, right? But you're really not supposed to pay for those shoes and that McDonald's. And,
that ain't it
really has nothing to do with you buying your kids school clothes. And, so what we try to do is be a first step, right? And we offer the consultation services because we want you to at least have the questions asked. And then we point you in the direction, regardless of whether or not it's our services or someone else's services. We want you to be helped. And so that's what that first initial hour is for. It's really a SWOT analysis. It's to really figure out, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where do you have opportunities? What's your threat? And if you're your biggest threat, I'm going to tell you. So... my initials aren't BS for any reason. It was by design, because I don't give you any.
Right.
It's by design.
It's by design.
Oh, my goodness, that's tough. It is funny because, I didn't notice that, so that's very, very apropos, so I appreciate that. But the reason why I asked you that question about PPP loans and SBA is because even if it's not the news everyone sitting in their easy chair would like to hear, I want them to have, especially if they listen to our podcast, to have a dose of reality from a true professional who's not only educated but also has that certain level of expertise that only comes from serving in the field for a certain amount of years.
Right.
So I thank you for providing some clarity to something that can be kind of convoluted if all you do is watch television and see stuff on your phone. But let's get to some of the good news in 2021.
Yeah.
Is there anything from a lender's perspective, from a guidelines or qualification, that the average shopper, whether it be residential real estate, commercial real estate, may not know that have changed this year that you might want to bring to their attention?
There's a ton of things that have changed this year.
Something that we can handle. Something that Larry and I can digest.
We put too much pressure on us.
Right. No. Something that me and Larry can take in, Ms. Sams,
we
please.
need two bigger industry changes around.
All right.
Well, but here's the thing. There have been some changes in terms of a lot of the non-QM products coming back. So for those of you who are looking for like traditional loans, if you're a business owner, we are digging a lot deeper. You know, your bank statements are going to 3 months and not 2 months. And then we're digging deeper into your year-to-date P&Ls with balance sheets, especially because COVID happened, to make sure that you're earning what you said that you were earning to the government, because many people haven't, filed their 2020 taxes yet.
Yep.
And a lot of people are going to be doing extensions. Yep. Well, it's no longer going to be that you can just use like 19 and 20, and we really don't look at what happened in even 2021. But the good news is there are a lot of light stated programs that are coming back that you can have a CPA letter.
Wow.
Yes. There are still 12 and 24-month bank statement programs if you have not filed your tax return.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there are a lot more of the non-QM stuff coming back, especially for small business owners to be able to still occupy a property of their own or invest in property. Because many of you have the money, right? Many of you have the actual credit, but it's showing it in a way that would typically meet Fannie and Freddie's guidelines or HUD and VA guidelines. That's a little tricky as things start to be a lot more conservative in the climate.
And, I appreciate you sharing that information, because for every client that's a little too gung-ho and applies for everything out there, there are people that sit on the sideline and watch every opportunity drift past them. So I want to give them an opportunity to hear you say that and be like, oh, wow, that sounds like me. So one of the things that I'm sure a lot of our audience is interested in is just your professional background, your evolution. I'm sure you get this a lot when you meet people, especially when you're doing your initial consultation. Is they meet you now, and everything as far as your professional demeanor is so dialed in, it's so consistent, that I think, and Larry and I talk about this a lot, that it's undervalued the evolutionary path that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs have to go through. So when we come back from our break, Ms. Sams, I want to talk to you a little bit about your professional background and how you evolved to the entrepreneur and business owner that we have before us today.
Not a problem.
I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Prime Real Estate Network podcast. We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, but we'll be right back.